listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode. Hold on. I gotta redo that intro.
Oh my goodness.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. The worst impression ever.
It's pretty bad.
To be Gilbert Godfrey? That was supposed to be Gilbert
I
Godfrey.
think that's who it's supposed to be, but
Wow. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And
I'd like to apologize to Gilbert Godfrey's estate because I'm a massive fan and I'm going to mourn him.
he said
That was just disgraceful.
his family came out with a statement, and they said he would still want everybody laughing.
Oh yeah.
So you know what?
But we're not laughing.
Gilbert,
You should be,
yeah,
because
yeah.
that was terrible.
Well,
All right?
okay, we might be laughing at how bad it was.
There you go.
Gilbert Gottfried was one of those last comedians that he knew like comedy could be like he would not be someone who would be offended by us making jokes because
Oh, no.
Well, of course
and he
not.
was hilarious. I love
Honestly,
Gilbert
the last
Gottfried.
few greats that we have seen sadly pass, I think all of them would have been absolutely
yeah.
for us
Bob
just
Saget,
making
Betty
fun.
White, they would have totally.
Norm
Ed
Macdonald?
Asner,
Yeah,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
I
They
mean,
all
got
would've.
so many greats
Yeah.
recently. It's just awful. And really the ones who are not only pillars, but truly still had a funny bone to make us laugh and could take the licks themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you don't have that nowadays. I mean, maybe few and far between Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, but
Yeah.
it's like very few are in the game that.
Nowadays, you tell a joke, you get slapped.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
I've
But
actually,
you know,
there's been TikTok videos of comedians and stuff that have just recently they've been doing stand up and someone's approached them up
Yeah.
on stage and it's just like, see, you already you set a precedent.
Yep.
I watched one recently where the guy got up on stage and grabbed the mic stand and threw it down the stage, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well, there was one circulating where,
Ridiculous.
I think that
Ridiculous.
was the one you sent us, and it was just absolutely absurd.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and that was part of half the comments
didn't
were,
send it,
well, this
so-
is what happened because of Will Smith.
Yeah, but we've
When-
all
when-
seen them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
I like your new
ridiculous.
watch band.
Thank
Keith.
you.
You got a new
Very-
watch, but is that white?
Very
Yeah, it is
pure
white.
white.
I also have a blue one.
It reminds me of the Arctic
$6
color
at
from
Walmart
Game
because
Boy
they're going out of
Advance.
business.
Yeah.
Wait, show that. It looks legit.
It is. It's an Apple
it's
brand.
nice.
It was $6?
Yeah. At Walmart.
I should have went up there.
because they're going out of business. I
I
got this
bet
and a blue one. That's what I said. It's like these things are normally $30.
Yeah.
I got
That's
it for $6.
insane.
It's this and the blue and a blue
Oh,
one.
yeah, I had to switch back to my sport band because
Nice.
the one that I got with
That
the new
was-
Apple Watch,
The cloth one.
it was the cloth, but it was the braided one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Edie
Yeah.
Don't buy those.
kept jumping on me, and it's not her fault, but it was so freaking terribly done that it's like one little strand got pulled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Like a ball of
immediately
yarn.
I couldn't get
That
it back
was it.
together.
Yep.
It was terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awful craftsmanship.
The only thing they did, and granted, I mean, beggars can't be choosers, but I was hoping they might have a red one, but they didn't. But they did
Yeah.
have a blue and a white, and I bought both of those.
Product red.
So that's all I need is a red one now. Then I can
Yeah.
just
I got
mix
U
and
of L,
match.
go cards, red and black.
I
Right
I
there.
have
Red Moon.
I have the good old Amazon ones,
like
and
the
you know,
olive green,
I haven't
nice.
gotten cancer on my wrist yet.
That
so-
looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
That looks
mean,
legit.
I'd buy that
It's
off
the
Amazon.
same thing that
It
Apple
is.
sells.
It's
I mean,
just-
they
it's
made
just
them in the same
the
Chinese
silicon,
factory.
Yeah.
True.
Same little children made
Same
this
thing.
one.
Oh, well, the iPhones are now being made in India.
So now they
you
have
know,
Indian
yeah.
slaves. Okay.
Still Asia.
Yeah, it's true. They're still Asian
Well, you
slaves.
still got to get cheap labor
He's right.
somewhere.
It's still
Indian
Asian
labor's
slaves.
cheaper.
Yeah, India's part of
Everybody
Asia.
hears about inflation and wants $20 to work at Taco Bell. Can't make phones here.
Right.
Come on.
Terrible.
We got a great show for everybody.
We do. We got a good one.
Sadly, we started off with the sad news of the passing of
Yes.
Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah.
That one really. I mean, they all have hit me, and I was just like, every time one pops up, like it's just unbelievable because there have been so many this year, and I'm like, what's all the people that brought joy to the world are leaving? That's a sign of something.
The rapture.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all being taken
I mean,
home.
they're being taken.
Where I mean, I don't know. wherever they
Humor
call
is
home.
dying,
They're-
and
they're-
they're it's like their life force is being sucked out of them because of the next generation.
They're leaving, and we're left with the people that we see every
Amy
year at the
Schumer.
Oscar- yeah, Amy Schumer.
Regina Hall.
Yeah. I mean, that should tell you something. The fact that they're still alive means they suck. All the good ones are dying.
I mean, that's literally. Oh, and Wanda Sykes. I didn't want to leave her out. She sucks too. We
I
got to include them all.
I want to go home and watch Problem Child. Like, I love
Problem Child.
Gilbert Gottfried in those movies.
Dude, freaking John Ritter in those movies.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Don't
absolutely.
worry,
Both of
sir.
them are
He
great.
shot me in the prune.
I mean, it was great.
Yeah, it was last week. I don't know why. I just randomly I don't know. I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube and ended up on old Hollywood Square videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they were like the best of Gilbert Gottfried on this one video, and it was hilarious. Like I was cracking up. So
Obviously, the voice of the bird,
Iago,
in Aladdin.
he did a lot of vocal work for
yeah,
animated series.
Ren and Stimpy. I learned he was in that.
He
That's-
did
I
a
didn't know
few
that.
episodes of that. He did a series for PBS Kids where he was a character in that.
He had a stint on SNL in the 80s.
Very
which is
short lived.
nuts. That's crazy,
yeah. Apparently that was his debut, and it was
Well,
short lived.
And I'll be honest, obviously, because he was a product of, like, Iago is a perfect representation of what I thought of him when I was younger. Because, of course, when you're younger, you don't get comedy. You don't get the shtick. And his annoyance and his voice is what he understood about his part of his comedic role. And so I hated him growing up because he was annoying.
Yep.
But really, it was like, it's endearing because I look back and I'm like, no, that was his comedic role. He played into that. And of course, I appreciated it later in life when I understood comedy, unlike we've got today. And he will
was
definitely
the voice
be
of the Affleck duck for a lot of years. So.
well, and I'm surprised, and of course, I'm sure it'll come up in the days to come because we can't have peace in this world anymore.
Oh, Lord.
But part of the reason, I'm sure somebody's going to bring up the controversy of why he got canned from being the Affleck duck and talk about all the controversy surrounding, because that's what we have to do nowadays.
Well, I mean, when Bob Saget died, they drug up things that weren't even true and brought that stuff back up about him being a pedophile and the sexual assault against the Olsen twins that never happened. And it's like, can we just, stop? Like, why do we have to, like...
My girl Candace Cameron came out and said
That's right.
that it wasn't true.
The Olsen
though.
twins came out and said it
If
wasn't
anybody,
true.
if anybody was going to get molested on that set, it was Candace Cameron.
Well, Candace,
Jodie Sweetin, maybe.
yeah, she actually had the life afterward that kind of made you think she probably was.
Hey, she got clean, though.
She did. She
She
got
did.
clean. And man, she was recently on the Steve-O podcast.
Oh, yeah?
And
God.
talk about somebody's voice I can't stand.
Oh, Steve-O?
Steve-O.
Oh, yeah.
He's done so many drugs.
Yeah.
And I cannot stand the way he sounds.
I don't like his... it's not as bad as Seth Rogen, but he has a laugh that's grating like Seth Rogen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I can't
Yeah.
stand Seth
It's
Rogen's
like,
voice.
I hate... when
Give
he
me
laughs.
Gilbert Gottfried all day.
I can't stand it.
But no, we got a great show.
Yeah, great
We got a
review.
good review. Obviously, we went and saw the big one on the block this week for
Jenny?
the families and the kids.
She's her and Ben are engaged again.
Oh, gosh. Are you serious?
Yep, Ben Affleck and Jennifer.
I don't keep up with that.
Lopez. Yeah, Jenny from the block.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Do we really need to see them married and divorced again?
Yes,
It's going to happen.
I think it's gonna be hilarious.
I thought he was with Ana de Armas. I guess that didn't last long. I guess that was
our
over
notes,
with.
Our notes still say Morbius is the review.
Nope.
It
Mine
hasn't
does not.
updated.
Yours just didn't update.
You
It
open
says,
it.
it says podcast 412.
Oh, that updated.
Yeah.
But not the
Weird, yeah,
rest.
'cause I
and
have
all the headlines are good too.
Oh no, yeah, it does. Review says
Oh.
Morbius.
Whoops,
You
I
didn't
forgot.
update that
We're
one.
not doing that.
We're
one
not
again.
doing
We're not
Morbius.
reviewing Morbius.
That was last week's
That was a
review.
terrible movie, and we don't want to discuss it anymore.
We're going to discuss this one we're bringing up because we're done talking about Ben and Jenny.
Well, let's get
Done.
to it.
Yeah, let's get into it. It's. Well, we'll let the review decide.
Liked
Here's our review of
I liked
Sonic
it.
the Hedgehog 2.
Massive franchises to shared universes, the biggest production companies in Hollywood are all vying for IPs to land massive profit. With most of the biggest studios all having their own streaming service, these massive cinematic universes must also branch out to attract subscribers. Disney has done it with Star Wars and Marvel, Warner Brothers has done it with DC. Paramount now looks to bolster their offerings with Sonic. A surprise hit in 2020, Sonic the Hedgehog proved to be a fun family film that scratched fans' nostalgic itch, if not feeling a little lackluster to critics. The sequel has landed itself exactly in the same position, and so far is shaping to be another profitable venture.
prompting Paramount to greenlight not only a third film, but an inevitable spin-off series for Paramount Plus, one focusing on Idris Elba's Knuckles. But is Sonic 2 as great as fans say? Or is the room temperature reception from critics more apt? Once again, starring Ben Schwartz as the voice of the blue speedster himself, Sonic, and Jim Carrey as the villain as Dr. Robotnik, aka Eggman, Sonic 2 sees the return of previous cast members James Marsden and Tika Sumpter, but also brings in video game stalwarts Knuckles, voiced by Idris Elba, and Miles Tails Prower, voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, the only voice actor from the games to reprise their role. Sonic 2 picks up where the first left off, with Dr. Robotnik stranded on a mushroom planet. Robotnik, of course, escapes and returns to Earth to cause havoc, but not before meeting Knuckles and conning him into doing his bidding. Tails, who has been monitoring Sonic, arrives to forewarn him of the dastardly team-up, and races on to get the Master Emerald, the culmination of all 7 Chaos Emeralds, powerful gems from the Sonic games. Sonic 2 is mostly more of what we got in the first film, with a much larger dive into the video game mythos. Whereas the first concerned itself with introducing Sonic and Robotnik, setting up their characters and motivations, the sequel looks to carry on their stories while introducing Tails, Knuckles, the Chaos Emeralds, and throwing in tons more references to the grander mythos. It also brings back nearly every supporting character from the first film, even if for a brief cameo. Building upon the first is what good sequels do, but Sonic 2 tries to cram a bit too much into its story. And while still a fun family movie, the character depth for much of the cast is sacrificed for action and cheap laughs. But character depth isn't the only thing lessened in the sequel. While the first film is still mainly aimed at younger audiences, it's clearly a film made for Sonic fans of all generations, with Easter eggs and clever references to years of the Sonic franchise. The sequel, in comparison, leans heavier into the childish aspects and offers less of the creative and witty humor and references that can only be caught by its older audiences. This doesn't mean it isn't still packed full of nostalgia and Easter eggs, but this time around the jokes and references are all more on the nose than clever, and the humor more slapstick. Even Jim Carrey, praised for his performance in the first, feels more generic. That said, Sonic 2 isn't a bad movie. Kids will absolutely love it, and many hardcore Sonic fans will too. I found myself grinning quite often at many aspects of the game brought to life, and the finale does not disappoint. What I really wished for, however, was more of the personal touch that the first film had. Scenes between James Marsden's Tom, who acts as a surrogate father to Sonic, were touching and well done in the first film. In Sonic 2, Tom takes a back seat, and the few emotional moments attempted are either generic or else not allowed to sink in, as they are immediately brushed off with a joke. There were simply too many characters in this film to do them all justice. Holdovers from the first, such as Deputy Wade, Robotnik's assistant Agent Stone, and Tom's sister-in-law Rachel, just didn't feel needed for the story this movie was trying to tell, especially when adding in iconic game characters like Tails and Knuckles. Luckily, however, the characters pulled from the games themselves are still handled well. Knuckles is one of the more entertaining aspects of the film, and while his fish-out-of-water shtick of taking everything said to him quite literally is a comedic trope seen before, Elba's performance makes the humor land more often than not. Tails likewise embodies the character of the games, though this is less surprising performance-wise, as his voice actor has been doing the character for years. Ultimately, Sonic 2 will satisfy most audiences, and is already proving to do just that. Already showing some cracks, however, I worry whether Sonic has the legs to be a massive universe such as Marvel. After all, not everything needs to be so huge. But Sonic 2's popularity should provide Paramount plenty of justification to move ahead with their Sonic Cinematic Universe plans. I just hope future projects don't forget to maintain the heart that made the first movie so popular. I give Sonic the Hedgehog 2 2.5 out of 4 stars.
2.5
2.5
for Sonic 2.
I didn't like it as much as the first, which is not the popular opinion amongst audience members. It has like a 97 audience on Rotten
Yeah, but
Tomato.
a 96 for the first one.
93 for the first
Oh, okay.
one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big difference.
There was a 4-point jump. That's huge. Audiences really like this. I mean, kids are going to love it, and I think the hardcore fans of Sonic that like to pull out every Easter egg,
Yeah.
they're going to love all the fan service. I mean, I appreciated the fan service, but it doesn't have the same emotional depth. Like there's some scenes in the first one between Tom
Bombadil.
Well, Tom's his name in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
James
James Marsden.
Marsden's character and Sonic that I thought they really nailed that kind of surrogate father bond type thing. And then they make a joke of it in this one. And I'm like, it's fine to have the jokes, but there was never a good solid moment between the two
Yeah,
of them.
they joke about it until the end, and then they
it's
pull
like-
out where he calls him dad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
this
And I'm
heartwarming.
like-
And I'm like,
and-
that was a little too much.
Yeah. I thought, well, that's like, it's too little too late. Like, they
Yes.
really didn't build
Build
up
it
any of this
well.
to make it feel like
Right.
that should mean something to him.
And then to introduce like all the game elements they did, like I mean, we did, like you said during the review, we talked about the last ones, like they really set it up to dive into the mythos from the games, and we expected that. But to bring in Tails, Knuckles, the Death Egg, the Chaos Emeralds, all of it, so much detail, and then still try to cram in like all these minor characters from the first that weren't needed, like Wade, which was dumb. There was not a scene with him in this movie that was needed.
No.
Rachel, her sister, that whole wedding scene, that
Yeah.
wasn't needed. And I would argue even Agent
Like-
Stone wasn't needed, but
No, I would agree, and I would even say like even the wedding, it's like you could tell they were having it for comedic relief and to have a plot point for the rings getting mixed up, and then
Yeah.
of course that's how Sonic
Oh,
gets back,
no.
and
The
then of course
sister-
it happens. I think knew obviously the gym was going to be in Hawaii because that ends up being how
Well, it
they
wasn't
reunite.
quite in Hawaii. It was a little ways
Like-
off.
Right, but it was
out in the middle of the
the
ocean.
general
Yeah,
vicinity, the
Yes.
same vicinity, and I'm like,
Yeah.
again, it wasn't bad. It was just
It was very predictable.
It was,
Yeah.
and that along with like you're saying that the misses with having the old characters rekindling their friendship or carrying on in this one versus also introducing these new characters. Plus, I thought Jim Carrey's performance in this one was far flatter than the first. Yeah, he had the same mannerisms and the same manic attitude, but his lines just didn't hit as well. They
He
didn't
was
seem
just
as
kinda
witty.
Like this hovering villain that didn't do anything until the very end when he finally got his hands on the Chaos Crystal or Emerald. And it was like, I understand that, yeah, they wanted to bring Knuckles to the forefront a little bit, and that is their story in the games where, like, he's tricked by Robotnik into, like, going after Sonic or whatever. So it's like, yeah, you get these mythos right, but then you just have, like, Robotnik as this hovering villain for most of the movie, just making these terrible generic quips, and I'm like, there wasn't really much for him to do
No,
to
he's
be
not
comedic.
threatening.
Yeah.
I felt like in the first one, just him hunting Sonic
Was
a little bit more threatening and urgent than his whole role in this film. Even with the the giant robot at the end, it's kind of like that. Even that wasn't threatening because he's dancing and
Yeah.
doing some of the moves that he does in the game, and it's kind of like it's again it caters to the people who have played the game, but like my son was watching it with me and he didn't get the reference of how he was like how he swings his arms
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
he didn't get it because he's never played the actual Sega Sonic games. So it's just something that I don't feel like younger people or kids that go to see it, they're gonna have a good time because it's Sonic and it's a cartoon
Well, and
character.
it's funny that I feel like the
but-
games that they remember or reference, yeah, they've probably played or dabbled in some of like the Sega Genesis games, but obviously they didn't grow up on that. They've played like
oh no, yeah,
Sonic
My son's
Dash
played
or
Sonic
Sonic
3D,
Racing or
like
Sonic
the-
3D.
Yeah, that's what
the
he's
bad games.
yeah, exactly.
He's never played the side-scrolling Sonic
the
games.
good ones.
The ones in which
I will
it's
say
known for.
there was one joke that I did like because it was a reference to the games when they're like looking for a weak point, and because you all mentioned how much bigger the robot is in the movie compared to the games. But in the games, one of the weak points is you could bump like the crotch area, and it was funny when they're like, "What's a weak point?" And Knuckles like, "Go for the crotch," and I'm like, because it's a giant robot,
Yeah.
you can't go for the crotch. But I
Right.
was like, that's funny because it was like a callback to the
Well,
to
and,
the game.
there
but-
and there were definitely moments where even Sonic himself, again, Ben Schwartz does a good job of portraying him, and he's even supposed to be. He's supposed to give the
I think
the
as
witty
the voice
quips
of Sonic, he does well.
Yeah, but he's supposed to have the witty quips mixed in with the emotional moments of also doing heartwarming, and he can definitely pull that off. I just felt like there were not enough of those moments. Partly what we talked about with regard to like even James Marsden and Sonic's character not really having. It just felt a little too forced in this one instead of organic throughout the whole film.
They're really, and I mean, I'm okay with bringing James Marsden back. He was like
pretty much the second.
Oh,
like, the
absolutely.
but it was like they didn't give him anything to do.
Well, I immediately
It's like
knew from the moment they set up the whole Hawaii
thing,
vacation,
they
I'm
were
like,
just
you're
getting
just
him
getting them out of the way.
Yeah.
You're sending them off until they come back later on in the movie.
And that was
when
my
we need
problem
them.
with bringing back all these secondary characters, because it's like, okay, you got rid of James Marsden and Tika Sumpter, who should be like the prominent like live action characters outside of Jim Carrey, so that you had room for all these other characters that weren't needed. Like, you should have kept them in the focal point to have those emotional moments. And no, they didn't have to be in every scene, because you are focusing more on the video game characters now. That's fine, but that was a poor balance, I felt like, where they sacrificed those characters for other characters that weren't needed at all.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. I ended up settling on 2. I think I already said 2 out of 4 stars. Sean, what did you end up giving it?
I think I'm going to fall on 2 also. I was
Okay.
kind of in between, but the more we talk about it, the more I like the first one way better.
I think, and we gave that one
better.
3
I
out
gave
of
it
4.
3.
I think
Yeah.
it's the 3, yeah.
Well, and there was so much criticism when that one. I think it's twofold. There was criticism because of the design of Sonic, first off, and then they went back to the drawing board, recreated it to look more akin to the video game character, and fans were already skeptical because of that. And I think they were, obviously, I think the story was set in stone by that point. The movie was already in post-production. However, I think that definitely Paramount knew after the redesign of Sonic, they were like, this has got to be good. Because if it's not, then we're really going to have a flop on our hands. And it delivered. And we all were well surprised when the first one came out. We
set up
actually
a lot
were
of
surprised.
potential, yeah.
And so I think to see this one kind of, I told you all while the review was playing, I likened it to what happened with Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman. And they were kind of pulling back the reins on her, but she was also thrust with the task of giving us a decent DC flick after terrible ones, and it delivered. And then they were like, well, this one was such a hit, Wonder Woman 84, have at it, fully unleashed. And then what did we get? It was a debacle. It was terrible. And I felt like this one wasn't terrible, but no doubt they leaned heavily on the tropes from the games and also on it really being a kid's film.
Yep.
It just didn't have any heartwarming like Pixar.
Most of the
tug at my
humor
heart
was
moments.
much more slapstick than the
Yes.
wit the first one had. Because that's what I appreciate about the first one. Yeah, they had slapstick humor for the kids, but there was a lot of witty stuff, just like the old senile man that drew the picture of Sonic in the first one, like stuff that adults would get and be able to laugh at. And there wasn't a lot of that in this one.
Yeah, as soon as we got to the dance scene with like it was funny, but I'm
It was
just sitting
drawn
here
out
and I'm
too
like,
long.
It was drawn out
Yeah.
too long, and I was like, what's the joke here? I'm like, he literally sees the map that he's trying to get on the floor, and I'm like, he's Sonic. He can literally run over there,
Zoom
grab
the
it, and
picture. Yeah.
leave.
Go.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
know why this
Yeah.
is even happening.
There were a lot of moments actually in this movie where I was like, for someone who has super speed, like he did not utilize it.
Right.
I was like, there's so many moments he could have just, and I felt
like the water was the only thing where I thought, okay, he's afraid.
Yeah.
And I love the whole like the bubble and he get like that was
Yeah.
great. That was a
Yeah.
good callback.
Yeah.
But it was like that was the only thing where I felt like, okay, this is why he's not using his speed. He's afraid of water. But yeah, there were so many other moments. I agree.
Because the first movie, I never felt like had that problem. It's like they showed off his abilities as much as they could in all the action scenes, and it made sense. It's like if he was foiled, it wasn't because of like something dumb, like I can't get to them. It's like, yeah, he's fast enough. He should have been able just to get to that map and go. And it was just kind of weird how there were a lot of moments where I'm like, I don't know why he wouldn't just speed off and
well,
do
in
that.
the temple when there's all these booby traps and stuff.
Yeah.
And Robotnik goes through it with Knuckles, right?
Yeah.
And they go through it, and all these things happen. Things shoot out of the wall. The big spike ball rolls after him. All that. Well, then when Sonic and them go through it, it all happens all over again.
Yeah.
And
it's
I'm
like, how did
well,
it
I'm like,
reset?
yeah, how did
Reset,
it
yeah.
all reset? And again, it's the same thing with a video game. You know, if you die and start over or
hit
have to
the
walk
reset
back,
button.
it all comes back. I used to hate that about those video games. You'd like go forward and kill everybody, and then you would just walk back,
If you
and all the
yeah,
enemies
everything's
came
back.
I'm like,
Yep.
that's just bull crap.
Isn't
But-
that I know this is a side, but I remember even just playing like on a PlayStation game where when that didn't happen, it was groundbreaking.
Oh yeah,
It was like you left a room and came back and,
And
it was
everybody's
like the
still
way
dead.
it was, and you were
Yeah.
like playing Resident Evil or
Yeah.
something. And you're
Mhm.
like, what?
Yeah.
How in the world did this? That's crazy. It knows.
Well, and, then,
Yeah.
and then they got even more advanced where they got clever with it. Like with Uncharted, you could clear out an area, but when you go back, they like have new people, like they're calling in by walkie-talkie. So it's like
Yep.
enemies are back, but because it's all new enemies, so it
Yeah.
fits narratively.
Or they play it
Yeah.
into the game mechanics. Like
Yeah.
there's other ones where they completely redesign the whole level design because you die, and it's like, oh, you're going to play a whole different game now.
Yeah, Sonic was, especially for something that, because they're doing a third one, which makes sense. And then they're doing a spin-off series on Paramount Plus with Knuckles, which, I mean, it does make sense, I guess.
And Idris Elba did a great job.
He was good. I thought he was funny.
He was funny.
Like I said in my review, like the code, like shtick, like I'm going to take everything literal because I don't understand, is kind of played out. Like that's a cliche at this point. But he did deliver it well. Like I didn't think his work did was bad.
Agreed. And just like the shtick with Sonic and how there were so many moments where he could have used his abilities, but he didn't, and it was kind of like a plot hole. Same thing with Knuckles taking things literally.
Yeah.
There were certain moments where I was like, well, how come you didn't take that literally?
Yeah.
And so it was just that again, it felt half-baked in that
I even
regard.
felt like Tails wasn't as... I mean... For him to show up at the end of the first movie and give you that kind of big, like, oh my God, Tails is going to be in the next one, and then he just doesn't have that big of a role. It's almost all about Knuckles.
That's Tails. He never does it.
But
I mean, it makes you wonder
agree.
about the end of this film has another reveal for a third film, and it's like,
it's almost like
how much
Tails-
of a big deal is that going to be?
He got
in the next movie?
overshadowed.
Well, he should be the next.
by Knuckles.
Yeah.
And I hate it because that was another heartwarming moment they were supposed to have with Sonic and then Tails being like good buddies.
Even
and
that, I didn't feel like
it played off too quickly.
His
I'm like, we
introduction-
haven't had enough time to let this sink
It's
in.
like, I've been creepily spying on you. I was like, okay, that's how we introduced Tails. I was just like, I felt like they could have come up with a better reason for him to like be coming here rather than I've just been watching you for years. And now I'm coming to warn you.
And again,
all of a sudden.
okay, I got the whole. I got to steal this cop car or a car to fit in,
Yeah.
and he has these gadgets. Like that was fine.
And that's fine.
But then
Yeah.
it's like when they're escaping that scene, I'm like, why do you have to get back in the car? And like Sonic's faster.
Yeah.
Why can't he either speed off and you fly away where Knuckles can't get you? I'm like, you don't have to drive off in this car.
Yeah.
And then Knuckles catches up.
Because they
It
eventually
just didn't
do,
make
because
any
they end
sense.
up crashing the car and Knuckles flies them out. And I'm like, why didn't you just fly off to begin with?
Yeah, exactly. There were just moments like that where I'm like, y'all didn't think this through, like, as you're writing it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a little bit of a shortcoming to me.
The kids still love it though.
Well, and that's
It's dominated the box office.
and that's
It is-
exactly what I
it
felt
is
like
a
as soon
fine,
as the
like,
credits rolled. I
family
immediately
movie.
was thinking, okay, this is exactly
I
what
will
this
give
film
it
is
that.
for.
There wasn't anything in the movie I could think of that I wouldn't want my a child to see. Like it was a
Right.
decent children's movie. Like I think kids are gonna love it if you're just with the family and you want to have something the kids will like.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It
Like, it's
is
entertaining.
literally. I thought about it in terms of it was my Power Rangers movie when I was younger.
Actually, I thought
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I thought that not. Actually, I would say it's not as bad as that Power Rangers movie.
I
That
would say
was-
Power Rangers movie's better.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen it.
The acting, the writing, no.
Ivanhoe.
Yes.
I love it.
It's more entertaining, but
Yeah.
it's not better made.
Hey, if you
Power
look at the
Rangers
plot
is supposed to
points,
be bad,
it's
though.
solid. Okay, very solid.
No, Power Rangers is supposed to have a campiness to it, though.
Yeah,
so I mean,
exactly.
And I'm telling you, there ain't
and
nothing
Ivan Ooze
sadder
played-
Saving films.
than freaking seeing Zordon almost
perfectly-
die.
Yeah, you're crying.
Okay?
Yeah. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, if this movie had come out in the '90s when we played Sonic and we were kids,
Oh, hell
I
yeah.
would have crapped myself.
yeah.
Like I would have absolutely loved this
Yeah.
movie.
I
So
remember
would
going
give
to
it
get the
that.
Sonic cartoon they had for rental just
On
because it had a
VHS?
white VHS, and I was
Yes.
like, "This is awesome."
I used to rent that from Kroger every time.
When Kroger had
Yep.
a movie store in it.
That's exactly
was-
where I
it
got
was
it.
the-
That was the only place that had it.
It was the only place that had it. It was the only movie at Kroger worth renting. I was like, Dad,
Yeah.
Mom, Dad, can I rent this? No, because they hated renting movies from Kroger. But I'm like, I want to watch Sonic.
Yep.
Wow.
Man, that was right
Yep.
up there when Red Giraffe was right next to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember one time trying to get Angels in the Outfield, except I got the black and white version.
Oh.
It
There's
was
a black and white
yes,
version?
it's an old movie that was remade by Disney.
Oh.
And the black and white version, obviously for a young kid, is god awful.
Oh, yeah.
And I turned it on thinking I'm going to see Danny Glover, and it ain't happening.
And
Joseph
was it
Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph
Levitt,
Gordon-Levitt,
yeah.
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 and then I forget the little kid's
Because you
name.
can't see us.
That's funny.
Doesn't mean we're not watching.
I know my mom went to
Always watching.
my mom went to Kroger Video once and tried to rent me a movie, and she rented this movie that was called it was something The Cat, and I can't remember exactly.
Felix the Cat? Because that's not a children's movie.
No, it's not. That's it. That's it. She rented me that.
Oh, no. Like,
And-
Heathcliff the Cat. But Felix the Cat's the black one. I think it's... No,
No,
not Heathcliff.
I think it's Felix.
I think it is Felix.
But all I know is I got the movie home and we started watching it, and it was a cat a cartoon
like-
cat playing with a woman's titties.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was new.
No, it's an adult-
It was like
it's an adult movie.
and the cat was
Yeah.
was bouncing her boobies. And
Yeah,
and
there's
I'm
like-
just
there's
like
nudity,
I'm
there's
like 6 years
language.
old sitting here watching this, and my mom like
Felix is the black Fritz the cat.
Fritz
the
the
cat.
cat, yes.
That's
the
it.
cat.
Fritz
Yeah.
the cat. I had to
Yeah,
Google it.
so-
Yeah, it is. It is
not
an
all
adult
cartoon
movie.
movies are for kids.
Yes.
Let's just say it that way. My mom ripped that out of the VCR.
Oh, look, Epix
went back
have
up to
it.
Kroger.
If you subscribe to Epix, you can watch it. That tells you how bad it is.
You
It's
can
only on
relive your
Epix.
childhood, Sean.
This was like this was borderline R-rated.
Finish the
Like, it was bad.
movie you never were able to see as
It
a
was pretty
kid.
funny.
It's like, hey, I got Porky's.
No,
Mom.
it's-
it must be about Porky the Pig,
Porky the
right?
Pig.
Yeah, it was 100%. It was made intentionally as an adult movie.
Yeah.
and
Well, that's
she
like
didn't know that. But back-
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah,
when
but
parents
back
sent their kids to go
then-
see it, not knowing.
But
Yeah.
back then, nobody made animation that was like this. Predates the Simpsons. This was a movie from the
Yeah.
70s.
Simpsons predates
Yeah.
the South
so,
Park.
So
yeah.
nobody like realized that this is not
It
supposed
was
to be a
an-
children's
It was like an
movie.
X-rated Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Like,
Yeah,
it was like
It was
Who Banged
bad.
Roger Rabbit. It was bad.
I'm sure there's a
But it
porn
was
of
funny.
that.
That's the story my mom loves to tell.
That is
about
great.
Kroger Video.
That is
And they
hilarious.
didn't warn her. Like she was checking it out and hey, you think my son will like
Well,
this?
you gotta think.
And they didn't even.
And
Oh
they
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know.
it's
Yeah,
cartoon
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
cat.
great.
That did happen. They had to start putting labels on Pan's Labyrinth at riddle stores because parents were renting it for their children. It's like it's R-rated. Like look at the rating on the box.
Well, and think about it, it's like
It's
I will
freaking
say,
terrifying.
at least for something like that, that probably in an actual legitimate rental store would have been behind like the curtain.
The curtain.
That you couldn't go into that room
Black
unless you were
curtain.
18.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, 2.5 out of 4 stars for Sonic.
Sonic.
The Hedgehog tall.
Gotta go fast. He said it.
He
said
did
it
say
in the movie.
It was fantastic.
Oh.
And the Sonic character in the beanbag.
I was a little
that was
underwhelmed.
hilarious.
Like I thought, I would have thought they'd give him a more I don't know.
Yeah.
When he says it, it just kind of.
I just think it's a meme now. That's the
It
only
is a
thing I can
meme.
think of when I hear him say it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind
Gotta
of glad
go
they didn't
fast.
put a spotlight on it because I would have thought of the
yeah.
gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast. I really wanted a Ugandan Knuckles like "Show me the way" or something.
Oh.
But, yeah. But they didn't do
Wow.
that one. They didn't do I
Yeah.
really wanted them to pull that one. but-
And I did like the
love
fact
that
that there's the part where he slides off the mountain, catches himself, but
Paramount
his rings
Mountain?
drop.
that
Yeah,
was the,
yeah.
that was the
you could-
exact
yeah.
same mountain.
Yeah.
When they fly there, and I'm like, that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
same mountain they've been using
Yeah.
in all their Paramount Plus ads. Paramount Mountain.
Yeah. But it's like which I think it's the Matterhorn is the actual mountain that it's.
Oh,
yeah. The
I-
Matterhorn's the actual mountain.
But it's funny because that's
in their
that's
ads.
in like
in their ads, they call it Paramount Mountain. Like they don't. Call
Oh,
it.
okay, yeah. Well, I think it's in Switzerland too, which they weren't even in the movie. So I guess they just added it based. Well, no,
They were. They were.
Were they in the
Yeah,
Alps?
they were in
Or
the
I don't
Alps.
know if that's.
I don't
if
know.
that's
So
Switzerland.
that may
Probably
that,
zoned out during
that may have it probably was intentionally done just so they could have that mountain.
It was
Of
a
course.
terrible experience at the movie theater watching this movie. Like there was people behind me with
screaming and
Oh,
screaming
you didn't even.
kids
Yeah, you
and
didn't even bring that
it
up.
was a
He said
freaking
one child crapped himself.
One kid crapped his pants
Man.
behind us, and it was just like my 8-year-old
Crapped
leaned
my
over
pants.
at one point and he was just like, "I think somebody pooped," and I told him I was like, "Yeah, the cid behind us, right behind us, crapped his
Smell it?
pants," and he was like, "How do you know?" And I was like, "Because he's been begging his mom for 30 minutes to take him to the bathroom, and she wouldn't take him."
It's like, come on, son, you didn't know about the rings. Come on, you got to pick up on the cues, okay?
Yeah, it was terrible. But
Alrighty, well, that's AMC for you.
that's exactly.
We
now-
rag on them enough on this show,
Yeah.
but I think we're ready for our headlines.
Let's do it.
Let's jump right into
do it.
the headlines.
It's not the right
Hey,
type
That's-
of coin.
not.
It's Mario.
That's
That's the only one
Mario.
we got. Brandon don't have no Sonic in there.
I didn't. You know, it's funny because I didn't prepare Sonic for this show. I
That's
should
the
have.
only it's the only ring we have.
I should have
That's
at
a
least
cool
had
way.
the
Do
the
it.
ring.
Do it over and over again.
It won't
Oh,
let
it
me.
won't do it.
That sounds even weirder when you hit it a bunch of times.
Yeah, that's as
You need
fast
the
as I can
sound
make
of
it
when
go.
all the rings fall out.
That's
When
yeah,
you-
exactly.
That would be great.
Yep.
Yeah, that was another when I lost my rings. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that was good.
yeah.
That was enjoyable. Alrighty, guys, let's talk about some headlines. We got to talk about the big one on the block,
Yeah, well, we have to.
and that unfortunately is that yes, Will
William.
Smith has received his consequences. He is banned from the Oscars for 10
Banned.
years.
He can't come.
He can't be admitted to the
I'm
Academy
sure he
Awards
is so upset.
or any kind of festival revolving around.
Any Academy event.
Yeah,
he
none.
can't go. But he already resigned, so maybe he wasn't planning on going anyway. I don't know. But he
pulled
is
he
still.
pulled a U of L.
Um,
He did preemptive measures.
yeah.
Well,
and it
So-
didn't.
yeah, except he got to
work.
keep his banner.
Here's my thing.
That's true.
How
He
many
got to keep
years
his
was it
award.
before he finally won one? It's like he's not getting he's not going to get anything in
Tell
the
the
next 2
truth.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's like he got his Oscar, and that's going to be the end of it. He's
honestly,
never gonna get
that's
another one anyway.
That's that was my first thought after seeing this, and I know some people are railing like, "Oh, 10 years." There's two camps. Oh my gosh, that's way too
That's
harsh.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Or oh my gosh, they didn't do more. And
Yeah.
I fall into that category.
Yeah, me too.
And to me, I'm like, look, the 10-year ban is fine. They should have just said, even with him being or with resigning from the Academy, it should have legitimately been you can't be nominated again.
Yes.
Yep.
I think
Simple-
they should have made
simple as
him
that.
Yep.
ineligible. I don't know forever, but he should be for some amount of time be ineligible to be nominated or win anything. I mean,
I don't know about forever, but until
Yeah.
death, yeah.
he can have that posthumous Will Smith. But and it's funny because honestly, he's already damaged his own career enough. I mean, everybody's been dropping him and postponing all his stuff. So I do think but that's going to be temporary. I don't see that's not going to be permanent. I mean, at some point Disney's still going to want their Aladdin too, so they'll be like, all right, he's had enough. Let's
and
bring you back.
his fan base is big enough that he's gonna come
Oh,
back.
yeah.
He'll make a
If
comeback.
Zack Snyder fans can get the Snyder cut made, Will Smith fans, he'll be
Yeah.
back.
And here's the thing, and I don't want people to think, because we accuse others of this all the time on the show, and we rail on others on the show because of this, because I'm not for cancel culture. I'm not.
No,
But
he should
here's
be
the
allowed
thing.
to work.
At the end of the day, the only reason this has to be a harsh enough punishment was because it happened at the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Because everybody I know has been comparing this to Roman Polanski, and he didn't even get his Oscar removed. And I'm like, yeah, he probably not only should have, he should have been banned.
And that's the thing. Just
I mean,
because one person didn't
He
get
was
the
in
punishment,
he was in another country when he got his.
Yeah,
well,
he
he left
fled.
the country.
He
right.
fled
He
the country,
fled
yeah.
and got
And-
an award while
yes,
he was over there.
and
And
Meryl
they gave him a
Streep
standing-
applauded
yeah,
for him.
They gave
and
him
yeah,
a standing ovation.
when he won.
And here's the thing. Just because
'Cause
he
when you're-
didn't, they did wrong back then, and that's the thing they did. They messed up. He should have been punished. But just because one person didn't get the punishment they deserve doesn't mean that you shouldn't punish someone now. It's like you can't fix the
and
mistakes
the
of
only
the past.
reason that people are arguing on behalf of why this is such a big deal is because, again, it happened at the event. I don't think this definitely would not have received or kept him from going or receiving the award had this happened outside of the venue or
Yeah.
outside the award
No.
show.
I would actually argue that I don't think it would have happened unless it was. It only happened because it was televised, because the public saw it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I think they're trying to save faces. They're like, well, crap. The very few people that did watch this saw it. We have to
oh,
do
yeah.
something about
Well,
it.
and it's because
if this
they
was-
were-
if this happened during a pre-recorded thing or something like that, I still don't think they would have came down
Well,
as
because
harsh
they would
as
have edited
did.
it out. But that plus the fact that they didn't do anything that night. So now they're trying to save face double because it's like not only did it happen live, but people watched live as they did nothing and let him go up there, make a speech. People applauded him.
Well,
and they just let him just
that, and then you also had the backlash after the fact because there was the debacle of the messaging after the fact, and the word getting out that they did ask him to leave and he refused,
And then
and
they
then Will
didn't.
Smith's publicist said, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah, then
and
the
then
Academy
the
says it.
Academy had to come out and say, well, what it was CEO Don Hudson and the executive producer of the show had asked Will's publicist to go out there and ask him to leave, and the publicist refused. And I'm like, you can't
No.
sit there and say that Will Smith refused to
you
leave.
do?
Like, it's just terrible messaging
tell
all
security
around.
to
to
escort
escort
his
him
ass
out.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but their excuse for that was that would have only happened had Chris Rock decided to press charges. Because security was on standby,
Yeah.
waiting for Chris Rock to make that choice.
Doesn't
And I'm
matter.
like, even if Chris Rock refuses,
You escort him out.
then
yeah.
fine. You don't have to arrest him, but you still get him out of the show.
He still
Yeah.
broke the code of conduct,
Right.
whether he presses charges or
It's
not.
like, yeah, whether there's I mean, heck, even certain states will pick up charges if someone doesn't press charges. So it's like the Academy should have been like, all right, you don't want to press charges, that's fine, but he needs to not be here for the rest of the evening.
Right.
And that would have been even more of a punishment for him to not be able to accept his
and
Oscar.
partly that's the other reason why I'm kind of falling under on the side of him having or them issuing saying you'll never be nominated again, simply because of the failure of them to act on the night of. And it's like the fact that he still got up there and was able to give an acceptance speech. He did not fully apologize till the day after. He was seen at a party that night, partying it up, enjoying his Oscar. Obviously, the image was bad. And regardless of him resigning from the Academy and not going to any Academy event. I mean, literally the worst thing that's going to happen to him is that he won't get to, announce the best female actress for next year. Woo. Oh, it's so sad.
Oh.
And at the end of the day, no, I'm not, again,
Is there going
attacking.
to be a show next year? Man, I really hope next year tanks too. I want the Oscars to get canceled.
At this
I do
point,
too.
Yeah.
I'm tired of covering it because it's just not worthy anymore.
They're going to be like, we went up from last year. Don't cancel us. Okay.
Well, that's exactly what it's going to be because of the fallout of this. I mean, that's what I love, too, about the messaging that the statement after this decision was made was simply because he ruined the reputation or he had the reputation of the Academy on the line. I'm like, you all did that long before this happened.
Yeah.
And that's just Hollywood's fault in general. And the Academy has been a joke simply because they haven't upheld their reputation throughout the years with bad conduct and just bad overall films being nominated.
It's not about the film industry anymore. It's not about the movies being made. I mean, they say it is, but really it's just we're going to promote whatever sends the message we want so that people can get up here and say what we want them to say.
Right.
And it's not about the actual craft of making the films anymore.
No, it's not, unfortunately. But you know what? It's funny that we're talking about this because maybe we should switch up our attitudes a little bit.
No,
And maybe we should have a little bit of grace
yeah.
and redemption.
I agree.
Especially
That's
on
why-
this Holy Week
That's why
as we head into Easter Sunday.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about
Well,
Mr. Mel Gibson.
that's why I said I don't know that Will Smith should be banned forever from ever being nominated, but there should be a certain amount of time. I do believe in grace. I think he should be allowed to work at some point, but he does deserve to be punished. And Mel Gibson, I think, did make good points, not about necessarily Will Smith. He didn't
Just in general.
Yeah, he didn't really talk on that.
He didn't want to comment on that, but
Yeah.
in general, he did talk about how all of us are sinners.
Yep. He was talking about his most recent film that's coming out that we're hoping to review next
Father
week
Stu, yeah.
instead of Dumbledore. An executive decision we all made just before this show.
We will have at least an informal review of Fantastic Beasts, but come on, people, you already know what to expect. Just don't make us go through that.
we really want to see Father
It's going to be
Stu.
more of the same.
Yeah.
Father Stu actually looks good.
It does. I agree. But no, I think Mel Gibson brings up a lot of great points. He had an interview with the Daily Wire, and he was talking about Father Stu coming out. And ultimately, I think as somebody who has been plagued with controversy because of comments he's made under the guise of being in a drunken stupor.
Yeah, he's made mistakes.
I mean, he's been divorced. He's had his fair share of controversies and things he's said, but he's been able to come back in the public eye. And I know a lot of people who have rooted against him in
people
having
still
that.
root against
Oh, of
him.
course they do, because they think some of the things he said were so vicious and vitriolic that he shouldn't have a comeback.
I mean, it even comes down to as simple as just being Christian, I think, too. Because, I mean,
Yep.
I've seen plenty of
That's a
vitriol
target
thrown
on your
at him
back
just
anyway.
because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he's just some Christian nut job. It's like, I'll give you, he might be a little bit of a nut job sometimes, but that's not because he's Christian.
Well, everybody's wanting to talk about the anti-Semitic, rant that he went on, and it's like, look, when you're drunk and you're saying things that obviously you're not in control of, it's not to, you don't ignore them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't hold it. Just like we even said the freaking show right after the slap. It's like, no, this is not going to define Will Smith as a whole. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it is going to take precedent in the moment. And yes, there should be consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, yeah, we know Will Smith. And that's what ultimately I think shocked everybody is it seems so out of character.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have speculated, as we even did on the show, about how it does seem as if part of the problem going on is really what's going on in Will Smith's home life.
Right.
That,
Absolutely.
things he hasn't taken care of there. And I think Mel Gibson, if anything, is kind of speaking to that with regards to what he's gone through in his life and the trials and tribulations he's had to come through. And how when you do have to face that adversity, it's not necessarily that adversity that knocks you down, but it's what makes you stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. He mentioned in an interview with Fox News, it was a short interview because he kind of cut it short when they started talking about Will Smith, and he's like, I don't want any part of that. But he did say, like he said, I've got 9 kids, like a good Catholic, and he's not been the best parent. And he says, but I'm working on it. And he says one of the good things about grace and about the gift of time that we're given is you have hopefully you have time and you utilize the time that you have to try to make amends and make up for some of the wrongs that you've done. And I think even him saying that, even though he didn't want to talk about Will Smith, it's kind of it plays a little bit into the fact that I think over time Will Smith will absolutely fully realize what he did. I think his apology was probably not even written by him. Maybe some of it was. But again, I think over time, he will definitely be remorseful for what he did. Hopefully, him and Chris Rock will make amends, and that he will be the one who takes the step to do that. And eventually, even though he may not be able to be a part of the Academy Awards, I hope that he continues to work and to make good films. I think he should have got an Oscar for 7 Pounds. Like, I think there's plenty of times that he should have been in that position, and unfortunately, he just blew his shot at
another one.
At another one.
And it
but
is, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think when we're talking about redemption, we should also think about that when it comes to Will Smith too. That he has time to fix things.
But it is about having the humility to admit when you've done wrong, and he has to get there first. Because I do feel
there has to be repentance.
I feel like
before
Mel
there can be
Gibson
forgiveness.
has done that, whether people believe him or not. And I mean, one of the things he said in his interview with Daily Wire, I loved, where he was just talking about every one of us has a boulder that we're dragging around somewhere. We're all going to get knocked over. We've all got a burden that we have to go through, some more than others, and that's true. I mean, we all have our own problems, and everybody thinks their problems are worse than everyone else's, but it's about acknowledging that you have to take charge of your boulder, deal with your problems, have the humility to admit when you've done wrong, and to try to be better.
And I think that's what makes it easier to sympathize with someone, like Mel Gibson, who's had that time and who's obviously faced that uphill battle of trying to get back into the spotlight and become not necessarily, again, the days of the Mel Gibson Hollywood action star have been long gone.
Lethal Weapon's gone. No,
But-
there's actually going to be a 5th one.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, because he's
him
directing
and Danny Glover are back to do another
because
one.
Mel Gibson's directing it since
Richard Donner, right?
I don't remember.
was it Richard Donner?
Wasn't it Richard Donner that did the
Y'all can look
Lethal
that
Weapon?
up. But ultimately,
I
I
may
think
be wrong.
you look at the babyface, / hard-edged Mel Gibson from Braveheart
Yep.
and from back in the day, and it's like, again, it was easily somebody who definitely fit in. Richard Donner.
Yeah.
Easily somebody who fit in with the Hollywood A-listers. Yet at the same time, we've seen that huge gap of the pause because of all of the different things that he's struggled with in his own personal life with alcohol. We've seen others who've done it who've also had that issue too with regards to Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And the
Alec
fact
Baldwin.
is
gosh.
if he could just stop shooting people, it's like it just he has his own.
Hey.
And okay,
Everybody has their low point. He
Yeah.
shot somebody. Mel Gibson made The Beaver. I mean,
hey, I'll defend that movie. I like The Beaver, the movie.
So,
I thought you were talking about Jodie Foster.
I like that movie. That's not bad. But no, he's kind of moved on or evolved into the directing.
He has.
Versus, I mean, believe me, Mel Gibson has been making some. He's gone Nicolas Cage when it comes to films that he stars in. Like, he's in some bad movies.
Yeah.
And of late, but his directing. Is still good. Hacksaw Ridge was a
Ridge was great,
film.
and I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, I mean, I still every year watch Passion before Easter.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And I plan on watching that this week. And it's like it's an emotional movie, and the guy knows how to tell and evoke those emotions out of you. He's a great storyteller.
He is. I'm looking forward to Fathers too. I think it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, I think too, the reason why I sympathize with him most is because he's anybody who's willing to come out and say, not only publicly because the demons have been shown, whether you want them to or not, but who's willing to admit it. Again, it is that humility. It's like the moment you admit that humility, I can absolutely be on that level with you, because it takes courage for anybody who has that tremendous amount of spotlight on them to say, yeah, obviously I've shown I'm not perfect, and I'm not, and here's, you've seen the demons in my closet. Because there's other people who are parading around in Hollywood, and God, we know they're there from the last several years of the Oscars that we've seen and the crap that keeps getting peddled out, of people who want to just be prideful about what, how amazing they are and the talents they have to offer and the messages they're trying to push. And we know those people on those pedestals are walking around with demons in their closet, but they're not willing to let them be seen. So props to Mel Gibson. I'm looking forward to Father Stu, and I hope it's a great movie. Looks good.
Does look good.
We'll let you
And,
know.
Yeah, we'll tell you all about it next week on the Red Moon Podcast.
Are
Our
we
final
moving along?
headline. Yeah,
I like this one.
this is fantastic.
just because I love when like good actors make fun of method actors. Because Mads Mikkelsen, he's come out and he was actually tame compared to some other people that have put down method acting. But I mean, he did say he doesn't believe in method acting.
His tameness was saying it's bullshit.
Yeah. But I mean, he didn't go into some of the depths about like how tyrannical some method actors have been on set, other than he did say it has led to abusive situations where people method acting that won't break character, like Jared Leto, who was mailing his castmates animal parts and all kinds of weird crap in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Well, he
It's
took
the Joker.
45-minute bathroom breaks on Morbius.
Yeah.
Because of his
If
medical
I were the
condition.
director, I would kick the crutch out from underneath him and be like, we have a film to make.
Yeah.
Well,
you
and-
go to the bathroom
You
and
can
come
walk.
back. Yeah. Yeah.
You're
I mean,
faking it.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
And I've never, the only method actor that I've ever felt was that impressive to me, and we mentioned this talking, or it was Daniel Day-Lewis.
Mads Mikkelsen brings him up.
Yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis, I think, is fantastic. I think that's because of his method acting. Not really, because
Mads says that, yeah.
I've seen so many other method actors that like Jared Leto who don't impress
Well,
me.
he brings up Jared Leto and Lady Gaga and how Lady Gaga got like a psychiatrist to come on
Yeah.
the set of
And
House
she's
of Gucci.
okay, but she's
but no,
not-
both of them are non-actors.
Yeah.
They're performers or entertainers coming from the musical side of things.
Yeah.
And I think they have to feel like they've got to go this extra mile to prove themselves. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with acting.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You're forcing this in the perception of thinking this is what's going to make you a good actor. And I'm like, no, a good actor can do it on cue and can turn it on and off. And even Mads brings up Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's like, honestly, he's like, I would just be entertained by watching the guy. You know, he's like, it's kind of funny. You think about it. It's like, what happens on a period piece? It's like, well, you're not smoking an 1800 cigarette. You're smoking a 2022 cigarette. Or what happens if you're playing a serial killer? Do you got to go on a 2-year binge
Yeah.
of killing people
Yeah.
to get into the role?
It's
he
dumb.
makes fun of it. And
Yeah.
I completely agree.
He
His
actually,
one word for it, which I completely 100% agree with, it's pretentious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. He was not actually recently. Will Poulter actually just I meant to share it with you all. They asked him about some stuff because he's doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and he has made some similar comments about how he thinks method acting is silly and that it does like breed like a sometimes hostile work environment because you have heard. I know. What's his name that played Bilbo?
Not Ian McKellen.
No.
Ian Holm.
No.
Martin.
Martin.
Martin Freeman.
Freeman,
Freeman,
yeah.
yeah.
I know when he talked about, I think it was Jim Carrey he worked with. He said he couldn't, or it was somebody he couldn't,
Yes.
do because he said like they were getting kind of abusive on set
Yeah.
because they were
I
bullying
think
people.
was
Jim-
that Man on
Jim,
when
I
he
don't know if
played in
Martin
that-
Freeman was in that.
No, but
Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman.
Yes.
And he actually, they said he actually not only was method acting that it started out that way, but then he actually believed that Andy Kaufman was using him
to channel,
to channel him,
Yeah.
channeling Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
So he believed that he was Andy Kaufman.
And
Now I think that's bullcrap.
Yeah,
you know,
of course
but
it is.
but again, he used that
Man
to
on the moon.
justify.
You look at
Man on the
Christian
moon.
Bale and his outburst on the set of Terminator because somebody broke him while he was method acting and he just lost his mind. And it's like, it's ridiculous. And Christian Bale I've never seen do anything listen.
I didn't know about that one.
the only Oscar I would ever.
Yeah. Oh no, he
scared of me.
One of the people were doing something with the lighting on set while he was filming, and they messed up the shot and apparently broke him out of it, and he flipped his lid and started cussing at him. They have a recording
The
of him.
only
cussing the guy out.
Oscar-worthy performance. Oh yeah, you can hear it on YouTube.
That's
They-
great.
they got you.
I gotta
Yeah.
check that out.
And of course, he had an interview. And he was like, "Oh, I apologize that day."
Yes.
You know,
Because he felt terrible, but
Yeah.
he wasn't himself, and I'm like, BS.
the
Like,
only
whatever,
Academy
man.
Award he should have gotten one for was Newsies. That's it. That's the only
That's
one.
the thing. I don't think Christian Bale's a bad actor, but I don't think he's that impressive of an actor.
No,
so-
well, and that's also what, and I agree with Mads Mikkelsen on that too. He just says, all of these people think that it somehow adds to this transcendence into this character. And he's like, no, it just makes you pretentious. And then what happens is they turn around and you get an award for it. Or he says the media talks it up and then they give you an award. And now all of a sudden everybody's in the industry is talking about how amazing the performance was because you dove so deep into it.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a load of crap. And I agree. It's like, look, the whole point of you being a professional as this is your job is it's not to say that it doesn't take an emotional toll when you throw yourself into a role.
Yeah.
But to do it to such a degree that you can't snap out of it when the director says cut, it's ridiculous.
Well, I think that, to me, that shows a lack of talent.
Exactly.
Because to me, the talent is in being able to turn it on when the camera's on and turn it off as soon as the camera's off.
That's a real actor.
If you've got to go through it and live your life like that, you're pretending to be an actor.
It was I had to look it up, but it was Man on the Moon. Martin Freeman filmed that with Jim Carrey.
I didn't know Martin Freeman was in that.
I didn't either.
I love
said
that movie.
Man on the
It's
Moon.
a great
but
movie.
But well, and it's funny because he didn't even win
Courtney
an award
Love.
for
Courtney
it.
Love is amazing in that movie. She's not even an actress, but she was fantastic in that movie.
But it's funny because Jim Carrey didn't win anything for it.
No.
He was. I think he won the Golden Globe.
He was good.
Okay, apparently he was talking about Man on the Moon, but he wasn't in that with him.
Yeah, I didn't think
he was in something else with
There's
someone.
a documentary
But
of what he went through on Man on the Moon, and of course how he acted
he was
like
downright
Andy
evil to the makeup
ridiculous.
people in his trailer and stuff. He was nuts.
But yeah, apparently Martin Freeman doesn't like working with method actors. Like he won't because
I don't
like
blame
said,
him.
It's just, and I would if I was a director.
Oh,
or
it's
somebody
funny
in
because I
Hollywood,
would like to
just be
know
like, no.
what he thinks of them working with Benedict Cumberbatch because he brings him up and how he got like tobacco poisoning for Power of the Dog.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and that might be where that might be who he was. He did, even though he doesn't call out, but that might be where his experience is from that he's referring to when he's in his article. Because,
I bet it is
because that is the only method actor I know of that he's worked with. But apparently, he can't stand working with method actors. So
well, thank you, thank God Mads is out there fighting the good fight like so many
and
others.
He is a good.
We
I
need
like
more
Mads
A-listers like him.
I feel
who
bad
are well
for
known
him.
in
He
the
got
industry.
wrangled into the Fantastic Beasts franchise. I'm sorry.
I mean,
the only.
You have to say yes. So I mean,
I'm sure he's
not
fine.
Like, it's not like they wrangled him.
But the thing is the more good actors that speak out against it, the more hopefully will come out and say, I don't need to do all that.
Yeah.
And they'll just say it's a load of crap anyway.
I am hoping it's a dying school of acting because we are. Before you didn't see anybody ever speak out against it because it was this holy grail of acting, and now we are.
How could you speak against?
But
the
now we
craft?
are seeing a lot of really good actors coming out and saying, no, it's stupid. So,
Which I didn't make.
Leo's a method actor, isn't he?
Yes.
Well, and I think
that's why he ate that buffalo liver, even though he's a vegetarian. Even though he's vegetarian, he ate it.
There's something to be said for actors who are in the middle of a scene that continue even after, like for instance, Viggo Mortensen kicking the helmet, breaking his toe. Leo in Django, when he hits his hand on the table, breaks the glass, and it
that's
really
fine.
bloodies
You
him.
don't break character while the camera's going, but that doesn't mean that.
And I'll even say, like, Kerry Washington having to put up with the fact that Leo, I'm surprised, sure there were waivers and all this crap signed, but he comes over and he rubs his blood all over her face, and it's not, like, fake.
No, because he actually cut his hand.
And I'm just like, to some degree, it's one thing if you keep the scene going, but the moment you involve somebody else, and I'm almost like, okay, again, this is a movie, and I know most people are like, but it's a one-off chance. But it's just like, what the hell, dude? Like that's
it's
a little bit.
It's
going.
Your coworkers have rights. Like just because it's a movie doesn't give you the right to like spread your blood
just
all
think
over.
about the medical implications of that. It's like if you go to the doctor's office or whatever,
I just got my Hep C rubbed all over my face.
They wear gloves and all that for a reason.
Well, and it's
like,
funny too because I'm
EMTs.
like, they already have so many tremendous like. It's stupid, and I would laugh at it when it comes to a sex scene because they have all these like plastic pieces they got to put on if it's full frontal nudity, and if like they show like an oral sex scene, they got to have like certain things that are in place so that you're not actually committing, and I'm just like, which is funny because I'm like, well, we all know it's not a porno, but you're pretty damn near close to it anyway if you're showing that explicit nature anyway. But again, if you're gonna go through that much trouble on that side, I would think the same thing constitutes for even a scene where you're still in character, but you're rubbing your own bodily fluids on someone else. Like, I don't see how you could keep rolling and not let that be, an instance where you yell cut and say, all right, well, let's check the gate and we'll cover this again.
Yeah.
But I just think it's a little too far. And so I'm with Mads. Like, thanks for sticking up and going out against method acting.
Yeah. Let's talk about Vidgames.
Vidgames. Multimedia segment.
Multimedia.
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 Let's talk about it, guys.
I'm
Yeah.
ready.
I wanted to bring it up because it's been a couple weeks
It has.
since this news
but
dropped.
We haven't talked about it yet.
But everybody knows
It's
we're PS fans.
It's multimedia.
We're
Yeah.
video game fans.
Video game fans.
I'm not,
Video
I'm not even like against Xbox.
No, I mean,
just
I
don't
have a-
have
I just
one.
don't
I
have the money to
I have a
have
One
one.
X. I don't have a Series X. I don't have.
I've
see
got
a
a
point
PC.
in getting that really.
Mm.
But
I'm waiting for the Series XX.
yeah,
The Series XX.
the Series X.
The Series X cubed. That's what I'm waiting
The
on.
triple X.
Mm.
That's the other
When
iteration.
they take the Xbox and they cut it in half
Yeah.
and make it into an actual cube, then I'll get
Yes.
one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't
Actually-
like the rectangle. I want a cube. What the
Oh,
hell?
Siri's listening.
Siri is talking
Siri's
about
been listening all
Oh,
night.
she's listening to
Wow.
Xbox and XXX.
it. Wow.
You're gonna get ads all over Facebook.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
get some porn ads now.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer's gonna show up in your YouTube videos and say, "Buy an Xbox." Swear to me.
I was gonna say he's a
Oh.
Christian Bale.
And here's the
Wow.
thing. The one thing I do like about Xbox is Game Pass. Like I do think that has been a worthwhile venture that they have done. And Sony, I think, thinks it must be pretty worthwhile too, because as we were alluding
I'd say
to
so.
earlier, they now are upgrading their PlayStation Plus plans, kind of merging PlayStation Now with PS Plus to create a new multi-tiered PS Plus platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you were wanting to talk about, right? You know,
Yeah,
upgrade,
yeah.
downgrade
Siri's
series.
still
listening.
coming on,
What
man.
is
What is she doing?
I think
Are you
I-
holding
I'm
the button
telling you,
I don't know.
man.
something?
Well, I don't know if my thing's a little tore up. I don't know. Maybe it's pushing it. Like something.
Siri wants to talk.
Tell her.
I
to
don't know,
stop.
but I need her
She's
to
lonely tonight.
I need her to
Keep
quit
your
listening
woman
to
under
me.
control.
Tell her relationship segments in 2 weeks. We'll talk about her then.
Okay, it looks like she's good. I don't know. We'll see.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about the subscription service.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's 3 tiers.
Mhm.
This new, like we said, this news dropped
There's
about 2 weeks
Basically,
ago.
what we have now, there's the pointless tier, and then there's the premium
Yeah,
tier.
I'm gonna get the premium plus tier.
Well, here's the thing.
Premium plus max.
Is that what is it? No, it's essential. It's PS Plus.
yeah.
then essential.
Wait.
No, essential's the bottom
The
tier.
essential's the bottom.
Yeah, that's what we already have. Basically.
What's the second? Crap. We were
I'm
totally
Premier?
under.
Is it premiere?
I think it's no.
Or
Premium is the top
Yeah.
tier. I think we
Here
were
we go.
wholly
Here we
unprepared.
go. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alrighty. Hold on, it's got to load
I'm
up.
gonna get the top one. I
PlayStation
don't-
Plus Essential, which benefits include. This is basically what we have now. You get 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for save games, online multiplayer access. It's basically what you're already paying for.
60 months,
it's-
$60 a year.
Yeah, $60 a year or $9.99 a month, whatever. Then you have PlayStation Plus Extra, which is everything that you have now, plus a catalog of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games. Woo! That's $14.99 monthly or $100 a year. Then you get PlayStation Plus Premium. That is everything from Essential and Extra, but it also adds up to 340 additional games from PS3, which are only available through cloud streaming, and a catalog of beloved classic games from PlayStation, PS2, and PSP, and those are available in both streaming and download.
See, that makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't, especially after the article you had sent yesterday.
Oh, about
to
the
us.
PS3
There's
emulator.
a PS3
Yeah.
emulator that
Oh,
can
yeah.
emulate every PS3
Well,
game.
it can't play. It'll load all of them. It can only play over 2,000.
Oh,
Yeah,
only
yeah,
2,000.
yeah.
When
Now,
we're only getting
yeah.
like 300
You're getting 300
from
yeah.
the from the generations of PS2, PS3, PS1, and PSP.
So this emulator will play over 2,000 PS3 games, but Sony can't figure out how to put something into the PS5 that'll natively play.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the emulator is for PC,
yes.
and the PS5 is a PC.
yes,
So what?
but it
doesn't-
runs.
It doesn't
runs
run
on
Windows.
It runs. Yeah, it runs on Windows.
It runs on Windows.
But no,
I don't know.
let's talk about it because I do want to kind of discuss. We're all, I think, in the boat of wanting to get the premium tier, but there's still some huge unanswered questions, which is, okay, 700 games sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about the generations,
Four different
there's
generations?
4
Yeah.
generations
That's not a lot.
included in that 700 games.
Yeah.
That means you're literally talking about your hallmarks on each generation of consoles from PS1 to PS4. So all the major exclusives
You're
from
looking
those
around-
generations, all the major third-party games, plus probably some hidden gems that people may not expect.
If they're distributed, like if it was an exact you'd have around 150, 175 of each games for each system. That's really not a lot.
I think
No.
there's going to be some good games and then a lot of Japanese games.
I don't think so. I don't think
that's
they'll-
what PS Now.
I think they'll do, if they do that, they'll do it in kind of like a region based.
yeah.
Like they'll do that, like, okay, yeah, so many, like if it's popular in Japan, they'll announce it and release it there for the Japanese market. But here, I think they'll go with. My only problem is
didn't
you'll
even know
have
there was
so
that many
many.
games.
well, here's the thing.
It says 400 PS4 and PS5
Yeah.
games. I didn't know there was 400 PS4.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
There's thousands of video. Like every console has.
I was gonna say,
Up
I think
to
that
near
I think the
1,000, yeah.
PS2 they developed from 2000 when it came
Yeah.
out to literally 2010 was when they, or 2012 was when they stopped actually
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
PlayStation
Now,
games.
not,
sorry,
they're not
I'm
all
thinking
games
of
you
good
want to.
games.
Yeah, they're not
No.
all games you want to play.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Only 340 of these games are for PS3, PS2, PS.
Exactly. Cover
So-
those generations.
Because 400 of them are PS4 and PS5. So really, you're not even getting 700 of the classic generation.
well, hell, we know that already. There's not even
only
100
20
games.
PS5 games
Yeah.
right now.
So it's like you're
Yeah.
mostly getting the PS4 games, and then
Yeah.
340 of these games will be split up amongst PlayStation, PS2, PSP, and PS3. That's not even 100 games per console. At that point,
Yeah.
it's not. And that's the thing. I
As
mean,
long as they have Brave Fencer Musashi from
I don't.
PS1.
They're not gonna have
No.
that.
No, and that's the thing. They're going to have Silent Hill. They're going to have Siphon Filter. They're going to have Dino Crisis.
Metal Gear
They're-
Solid.
Metal Gear
They'll
Solid.
have the
Final
big
Fantasy VII.
franchises.
They'll have those niche market that are like beloved classics, along with the major blockbuster ones that ultimately
Well, they'll have-
everybody already owns.
They'll have the first party Sony games once Sony, and then whatever third party they have will be the bigger titles, like maybe Final Fantasy, because again, those aren't owned by Sony, so they can't guarantee that those
Yeah.
will be on there either.
Yeah,
the
but they-
PS3 thing pisses me off because I'm telling you, I subscribed to PlayStation Now
I did
because
too.
I wanted to play Heavenly Sword. If anybody has ever played that game, you know what the hell I'm talking about. It is one of the most awesome PS3 games that
was
they ever
early
made.
on, yeah.
It was early on. The graphics were fantastic. The freaking mocap in
Andy
that game
Serkis
with
plays the
Andy
main villain,
Serkis,
yeah.
it was fantastic. And I loaded that freaking game up in 720p
Yep.
on my
Yeah,
85-inch
that's
4K
BS.
TV, and it looked like trash. It streamed like trash. I got a gigabit connection, and it was stuttery, and it just looked like garbage. And I'm like, if they're not going to give me the PS3 games and all that, what was that console out for 12 years? Wasn't the PS3 like 12 or 14 years?
Not as long as the PS2.
It had a long run.
It did
though.
have a long run, but that was, I mean, the PS2 was the longest, I think, with like 12 years. I think the
Okay.
PS3 was like 8
Was it?
years.
Okay.
Because it came out in 06.
It's just a lot of freaking games that I want to play, and they're going to be unplayable on this streaming
Well, here's
thing.
the thing, and this is I told Keith this. I said back when they came out with iTunes Radio was their first foray
It
into
had
streaming.
an 11-year run.
It had 11 years.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
I will say, like, when iTunes Radio dropped, I was like, oh, okay, they're competing with. It wasn't even like this was before Spotify, but I thought, oh, radio stations you can listen to. Sound quality was terrible. Streaming quality wasn't that great, and it was like you didn't have your library available in such a a fast capacity. So I was like, this is half baked. Well, then of course Spotify comes out, it gets popular. Apple Music has to compete. They come out with that service, and then it actually competes,
And it's good,
and the
yeah.
quality's good. And I'm thinking that Sony's doing the same thing here, where
hope
they're based on the patent that they just I think came out with. It was like 2 months ago because Mark Cerny filed the patent,
Yeah.
and it was for streaming. And it was a way in which I guess they use an emulator on their end to stream the game. But yeah, I agree. If it's not in 1080p quality, 60 frames or
At
at least
least.
30 frames
Yeah,
per
yeah.
second, like Xbox Game Cloud is,
Yeah.
then I'm sorry, that's not a fair comparison.
Yeah,
You
I-
can't try to compete or ask people to pay this amount of money and deliver
Yeah.
half-baked goods.
Yeah, that's where Google went wrong with Stadia, and Amazon's Luna thing is getting terrible reviews about the streaming quality. And I mean, that's all it is a cloud streaming game
Right.
service. And it's like they promise 4K graphics in 60p. You're running the games on a freaking what's the Nvidia's
Oh,
top
the Game
tier cards?
Shield. I
No,
think.
they're
oh,
running
they're
them-
like
the-
RTX.
yeah, they have
3090s and-
RTX graphics
yeah.
cards in the computers that are serving these games up, and it's like, but that's not what people were getting. And that's why people have jumped off the Stadia bandwagon. That thing's not going to be around next year.
No,
And
they've already stopped
Amazon
support
Luna's
for it.
not going to be.
Well, and we all argued that part of the reason is because you've got to have your first-party games.
I think that one bit the dust.
Yeah, I need a new
You
iPad
need a new cover. Hey, see if Walmart's got one of those.
Oh, I should have.
Oh, yeah, man. That
I think
would
they're
have
75% off now. I
Oh,
need to go up
God.
there.
That's
They're probably
amazing.
already gone.
Probably. Who
Either
knows?
that, they bought them or stole them, because that was the problem with that
Yeah.
store anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I think part of the issue with anything like Stadia, or even when Ouya came out, back when that was a thing, and that was crowdsourced, it was like,
Ouya.
if you don't have the library to back it up, and I think that's been the most disappointing thing for PlayStation fans, because a lot of people, when this was announced, were kind of like, okay, this seems like the way in which they're announcing it, it is very much geared towards PlayStation fans.
Yeah.
It's not about bringing in a new crowd, whereas Xbox, they're very much opening it up to saying, hey, no, we want you to play this on your Xbox, on your PC.
Yeah,
we want to
you
make
play it
this
anywhere.
available
Yeah.
on your iPad through our app. It's like,
I've played it. I've used
I think that's amazing.
And it works. Yeah.
I think that's awesome that they're providing that kind of service. Whereas PlayStation is like, no, our strength is in our exclusives. It's in the luxurious and
Their
priceless
titles has always
collection
been
that
one
we
of that,
have.
yeah.
I mean, the celebration of a PlayStation fan is the fact that you've been there since the beginning and you've grown up through the times with PlayStation and been an avid fan.
Well, that was one of the
through all
the
of these
brilliance
generations.
of Astro's was it
Playroom.
Astro's Playroom.
Like the attention to every generation in that game when that came with the PS5.
yeah.
I loved that because there were so many like references and games and for each generation and all the little little things you could get.
The icons,
collect.
yeah.
Icons and
And that was amazing. It's
puzzle
like
pieces.
for Sony that knows fans like how huge fans are of its history and its games to not have the backwards compatibility that Xbox has. That, let's face it, Xbox doesn't have as many great like I'm glad they have backwards compatibility. I mean, it's awesome that you can go and play any Halo, Fable, Gears of War, but really those three franchises is it for me. It's like after that, it's like what else does Xbox have that I care
True.
about? Nothing.
Yeah.
True.
And it's like Sony has so many titles and such a huge back catalog of exclusives that people love to not be
Well, and
have
it's funny
access to
you
those
you
just
bring
really
up
sucks.
Xbox because I think too that's kind of what Xbox fans have to look forward to with all their recent acquisitions. You have a lot to kind of be thankful for in terms of what's coming, and they've showcased a lot of studios' works that I think are going to make huge splashes for Xbox, especially Game Pass holders, because those are day and date release. Now I completely understand why Sony's saying no, our first party exclusives are not coming out day and date.
And yeah, I get it.
that because I think not in the way again, that's a place where PlayStation owners know they have their bread buttered. Xbox has to kind of prove like, okay, no, we're going to lure you in with those, but also these other incentives to come to our platform.
fact
They
that-
don't have the fan base yet that is supplanted with that type of
Plus,
image.
Xbox has a little bit of the ability to offset a bit of that, not a lot, but a bit of that cost by the fact that Game Pass is available outside of Xbox.
True.
Like you don't have to buy an Xbox to play these games because
Yeah.
you can get Game Pass through PC or your tablet. Like
I
you're
had
saying.
I had it for a month playing it on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too that I think with this that's competitive is not in the monthly tier, but in the yearly subscription tier, because that's the only way you can buy Game Pass, I believe, or is only by month. You can't do a year.
Yeah, they don't have
So
a yearly subscription.
if you do the yearly subscription of PS Plus, the premium or even the essential middle tier,
it's cheaper.
It's actually cheaper than Game Pass. And I think they're expecting a lot of people
to do that.
to do
annual,
that.
yeah.
And I'll be one of those because I'm a
what is
PlayStation.
it? It's 120, right? A
yeah,
year?
for a year for the top tier.
For the top tier, yeah.
But then I'm not only going to be one of those people doing that because I'm a PlayStation fan, but my hope is that if this is popular enough, that they won't cycle games out, but they'll just add more to the collection of old classics. And as people start to clamor for wanting certain games, if you get enough people on a Reddit thread that beg Sony for a certain game, Sony's going to have no chance but to say, well, we don't have a reason not to make this happen.
Yeah.
other than maybe a license deal or something that they have to make.
And if you're already a PS Now member, you get automatically rolled into
At least the
premium.
bottom tier. Yeah.
Well, you get into premium if you're a PlayStation
Because it's
Now
both
member.
services.
Oh, yes.
If you have both
yes.
services, which
Yeah.
you would have to
'Cause-
have one before
Because
the other.
Sony delisted
Yeah.
the annual PS Now after they announced this because they didn't want people to.
Yeah,
to go.
and that's smart.
But
that's smart.
I tried to get on CD keys and buy an annual PS Now because it's $60 and it's cheaper.
Oh, so you can automatically be upgraded?
And,
yeah.
and they're sold out. I was like, dang, I wasn't fast enough. I didn't think.
People were already.
I
ahead
didn't
of
think
you.
about
Yeah.
it until like a week after, and I was like, "Oh, I could get that on CD keys because they sell it for like $30 on CD keys because everything's so cheap
Yeah.
for like a whole year." And I'm like, "That'll be cheaper," and then they were already sold out. I
So
was like,
then,
dang it.
what are your all's thoughts in terms of is it a downgrade or an upgrade as far
Well,
as what we have now?
If they fix the streaming like you were
Yeah,
talking
it's an
about,
upgrade.
then it's definitely an upgrade over what we have now.
Even without knowing the library, not knowing what
if it's
games are
if
coming.
it's
Well,
if it's fixed, it's just a unilateral move. I mean, well, if it's not fixed, it's just a unilateral.
Well,
move.
unilateral
Yeah.
compared to what? What they have now or compared to Xbox?
I'm to what they have now. Like
Okay.
if basically if it's the same library and the streaming's not any better, then it's like okay, well then you just moved PlayStation Now into a premium tier PS Plus. You didn't really do anything.
So I didn't have PlayStation Now for very long. So are all the PS1 and 2 games on there?
No, not all of them. They only
But
have
I
a select
mean,
library.
300.
Actually, as
Plus
far as I
or-
know, there were only select PS2 games.
There's not a.
But
So
the
they-
most
so they
most
are
that was
adding to the library
available
then.
for
Yeah.
PS Now was PS3 and PS4 games.
Yeah.
They didn't even have PS1 games for streaming.
Okay, so
That's a newly
so that's an
added-
upgrade right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I also know with the premium tier, you get access to exclusive like demos
Yeah.
Yeah.
for new games. And I'm okay with that. It's like I understand with Xbox you get to play those day one and all that stuff, but I'm okay with getting to play a game for an hour to see if I like it before I buy
Agreed.
it. I would much
and
rather
that
do
ticked
that.
me off
yeah.
that they
PS
got rid of
Now
that on
only has
PS4.
PS2, PS3, and PS4 titles. That's the only thing on. Those are the only three on there. It doesn't have PS1 or PSP.
Because they got rid of demos on the PlayStation Network after PS3.
Yeah.
PS3 they had demos.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off because on PS4, yeah, they did, as far as I know, maybe they did, but I don't remember. They had certain ones. Like I do remember playing a demo of FF7 Remake before it came out, but
Yeah.
that was a download that they pushed into the store from Square Enix.
Yeah.
Like-
I'm trying to think of what game it was that just had a 1 hour demo on on PlayStation 5.
But it's like
can't remember what game it
I
was.
agree. I think it would be nice to not only try, but I'm like, I do like the idea that I was happy. I think I was pissed that they didn't do it for PS3, but I was happy to see that PS1, PS2, and PS4 games could be downloaded. Obviously, PS4's backwards compatible right now
Yeah.
with the PS5, but it scared me a little bit when I saw the numbers of it's basically going to be the entire PS4 catalog. Because I think there's more than 400, but there's not going to be any within that number that I don't think is going to be included that I wouldn't want to play. Like there's probably so many, like there's probably about 200 or 300 other games that are on the PS4
Yeah.
library that were
I
just
don't
kind
care
of
about.
that were crap anyway or lukewarm. But the one that really hurt was it's PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP, and I'm like, there's only like 300 games there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, PS3 is by far, I honestly think, the more and more I look back on all of the generations, the PS3 generation, and maybe it was just because I had a little bit more time when I was still in college,
Yeah.
that generation was the one generation where I played, I think, the most games.
Oh yeah.
Even I used to think PS2 was my favorite generations, but it's like I mainly played Metal Gear and Final Fantasy, but on PS3 there were tons of other games I
Yeah.
tried
Yep.
that were PlayStation exclusives that had great. I mean, the PS3 was an exceptional
Well,
generation.
That's why fans, I think, are so aggravated about the whole PS3 streaming thing, is because there were so many amazing. I mean, PS3 was one of Sony's. I mean, it's still highly.
Well, cause I think it's because they
Love.
came out thinking they were on top, and they got quickly, replaced by Xbox 360 a year before they
so
came
they
out,
had to prove
and they had to prove
themselves,
it.
yeah.
And over the next like 8-9 years, up until the swan songs of the final years, it was like, I mean, the fact that Last of Us was one of the last games you received on that console, and it's literally one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, that just says something for that console
Well,
generation.
look at it. I mean, okay, Last of Us, which has been ported over to every system. Grand Theft Auto, Skyrim.
Yeah.
It's like
all
they
those came out
started-
during that
They
generation.
started
And
with,
they've been-
with
yeah.
Motorstorm, which was a beautiful
Yeah.
racing game, and Resistance.
Yeah,
Oh,
Resistance.
Rollins
yeah.
Man was a great game.
I want to play through those.
I would-
I've
yeah.
never played through those.
I would
Killzone
I would
2.
love
Killzone 2.
Killzone
Yep.
2 was amazing.
I would
was
love
awesome.
for them to bring Resistance back and do it really well.
Oh, yeah.
I would love because Sony doesn't have really, I think, a
Can
solid.
imagine
I don't
that.
think they
shooter
can,
right now.
because I think that's Insomniac, and I thought Insomniac is now
That
no
is-
Sucker Punch. I'm
They own
mixing those up.
Insomniac made Resistance.
Right,
Yeah.
but one of them is owned by Microsoft now, and I think it's Sucker Punch, because they did Sunset Overdrive, and that was an Xbox exclusive. And right
Are you
after
sure?
that,
I thought
think
Sucker Punch
Microsoft.
did Ghost of Tsushima.
They did.
And
Yeah.
that's
Oh yeah, then
exclusive to PlayStation.
Insomniac might have been
I
bought
think
by.
Insomniac is also owned by Sony.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch did do one for Xbox, but it was just,
before Sony bought
yes,
it.
it was
Yeah.
before.
That's what it
They
was.
just
They
partnered
did
with Xbox
Sunset.
to do something with
Okay.
it. Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
was.
And I'm like, why not bring that? Like, Sony really doesn't have a solid first-person
Yeah.
shooter to compete with some of these others. I would love to see a Resistance brought back and done really well.
Oh, it would be amazing,
Yeah.
no doubt. I mean, there's so many hopefuls, but it's like I just want to be able to replay some of those classics that I either missed or didn't play,
Yeah.
but also some that I can't. I mean, I can't play Metal Gear Solid 4 unless and I tried streaming it on PS
Yeah,
Now, and
it's
it was
not-
crap.
Yeah, it's crap.
It's
I tried
not worth
too.
it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it's like for a game that was pushing the edge of what
Oh,
the
yes.
system was capable of at the time.
Oh, when
Yep.
Metal Gear Solid 4
It was
came
beautiful.
out, the graphics, the gameplay, like
you can't play that in 720p.
No.
That's ridiculous.
No.
That's stupid. And the fact that, and not only that, but I've had so many disconnection issues. I tried the Sly collection, streaming that when I had PS Now for
and
like a
those
month.
aren't very taxing games. Like they shouldn't require
No,
a lot of
not
yeah.
at all. And that's what pisses me off too. Is so many of those HD collections that came out that were remakes of the classic PS2 versions. Those were the definitive way to play an up-resed HD
Yeah.
remake of
It's like,
those games.
Could you play the PS2 version? You could, but why would you when you could play the upgraded version for PS3?
And yet the thing is because that's the only place they're available now, I can't play them again unless I kept my PS3.
I have my PS3.
And
The only
unfortunately,
reason
it's
I
at my parents.
That's the only reason I still
for my
have,
nieces and
Yeah.
nephews.
I thought
The-
they just recently made PS3 games unplayable or whatever, unless they were. There was
No,
a-
no, no,
play
no.
'em.
That was the store, and
Yeah.
it was on the
Oh,
PSP.
okay.
The PSP and I think the PlayStation.
It was the
I just read
PS3.
something the other day about the PS3 being that it rendered games unplayable, but if you had them on the machine, oh no, yeah, if
You can
it,
play
if-
'em.
No,
yeah, if
you
it
you
was
can play them
downloaded-
as long as they were downloaded. The store is shut down.
They were going to shut, but then they backtracked on shutting the store.
but they
down.
did. But I don't know if that's been updated since.
No,
Like,
yeah,
I
they
don't-
haven't shut it down, but there is something he's talking about now. That
No, no, no.
you
The
can't
PS3
buy.
store is not shut down. You can't buy it. You can download. But I know the PlayStation Portable and the PlayStation Vita stores are shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
You can no longer
'Cause
download or
they
buy
backtracked on one of them.
because I'm almost certain it might have been I think the Vita was one people argued about.
Yeah,
But
PS3 and PS Vita will continue operations, but there was something that they just. Yeah, Sony has made it nearly impossible to buy PS. You can't buy like they've.
You can't buy PS3 games on the network.
Yeah,
Through the PlayStation Store. And again, I think a part of it now is going to be their push to say, well, you can get these great games if you get a PlayStation Plus subscription.
No, it says PS3 and PS Vita owners who recently gone back to play older games are finding it hard to boot them up. According to reports, players are currently facing issues where certain games on the platforms are coming up as expired. Some games affected by this bug include Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 8 or 7, and a few more.
If you try to play them on the
it's
PS3,
a bug. You play them
It's a
on there,
bug,
and
yeah.
it comes up and saying that the
but it's
the
not
game is
something
expired.
Sony intentionally did. Well, they did make it. What they did with the store, they didn't shut the PS3 or PS Vita stores down. What they did though is you can no longer like before when you bought a game and it would just automatically take the money out of your account. Now the only way to buy things is you have to preload the money onto the account.
That's right.
And
I do
nobody wants to
remember
do that
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, well, if I want to buy this this game that's $8, but you can only preload $10, what am I going to spend those $2 on the PS3? Nothing. So
They
then
turned it into a
yeah.
government operation.
yeah,
because
Well,
that's what Riverlink
well, because
is
they
for
don't
Louisville.
they don't want people buying they want people to move on, so they're making it as
Yeah.
hard as possible.
Well, and here's the
but-
thing: I'm okay with that as long as you've provided another way
Yeah.
for those games to be made available.
But I mean,
Fine
all
if
my-
it's through PS Plus and you got to do this subscription, but
Yeah.
at least put that out first before you start having drawbacks
all
on
my
your network.
PS3 games are disc based though, and that's the only reason I kept my PS3 is so I could play Metal Gear
Right.
Solid 4.
Well, and all
because-
mine are either disc or they're downloadable, but they're on the hard drive.
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
reason I upgraded from my old
I do
fat
have a
80
few-
gig
Yeah.
to the 500
Yeah.
or 500 gig or
Slim.
whatever.
I do have
yeah.
a few free games from PS Plus but they are on it. So
Which is funny because I did recently read too, and this is just a little side note, that each of the PS3 consoles, the disc drive in that was so gross. His little burp.
I had to.
But each of the PS3s, because I was looking, that's what it was. It was like a speedrunner was talking about it. The fat PS3 Slims or fat PS3s have the fastest disc drive.
Yeah.
The Slims have the next fastest, and then the Super Slims have the slowest.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it was like as the generation went on, they put like, I guess less,
Well,
they
made them
put the
cheaper.
least greatest hard drive.
Yeah.
Because
They
they
made
made
the
them
console
cheaper.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting
God,
because I was
my
like,
fat PS3 was $650.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was with my Best
And
Buy discount.
and it had the Best
And I
Buy,
paid-
or it had the PS2
I
innards
paid
in it.
$300
Yes,
for my
it did.
PS Slim, my PS3 Slim, not the evil one that you had to slide the thing. I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
that
I
was
hate
stupid.
that. Well,
That was the
you could
super
tell
thin.
it was cheap.
It was cheap. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a plastic cover that you slid over and you put the thing in, and I'm like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. Well, tell us in the comments what you think of the PlayStation Plus tiers that are to come in
I think
June.
I want it. I just want to know what the.
I want to know the
titles.
library.
Yeah.
I hope they start, kind of teasing us with the library soon
really do
and letting out
gotta
little
announce
games
that.
here and there before it officially launches.
I'm just now seeing this comment from Jacob.
Oh, what does it
He
say?
He said LeBron James is not a method actor, and he killed it in Space Jam 2. Proof that method acting is pseudo-artistic.
As a joke.
True.
Yeah. That's just
true.
funny.
100%.
I don't know how I didn't see that earlier, but thank you, Jacob, for that.
That's
But-
fantastic. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it for this episode. But yes, tell us what you think about PlayStation, method acting,
Yeah.
Mel Gibson's return to films.
Great combination.
It's awesome. Will
Yes.
Smith, the slap, still going
The
on.
slap!
Everybody's
Yep.
tired of it.
Alec Baldwin still shooting people.
Out there,
right.
he's just causing chaos.
Yep.
Cats and dogs living together.
Mm.
Alrighty, guys.
hysteria.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Red Moon Podcast.
Red
Like, share,
Moon.
subscribe, hit that bell icon. All
Red
the social
Moon.
links right there at the bottom of your screen. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and search for Red Moon Productions. My dog has tore up an entire newspaper in the other room.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to go clean
What
that
else
up
is
after
new?
this.
Best doggone dog in the
He's
land.
always tearing something up.
I didn't walk her to this morning.
Go
She's showing it
Edie.
now. Alrighty, guys. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host.
Sean Sebastian.
And Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy
Enjoy it.
Easter.
He has risen. He has risen indeed.
Here comes Peter Cottontail.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.